What's going on, everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today I wanted to talk about Ayaneo's upcoming retro handhelds. Now, it's no surprise that Ayaneo has some new handhelds that they've announced. They kind of do this every single month. But these two specific products definitely look a lot different from what they've released in the past. And there's one of these that I am very interested in. The first one I wanted to talk about here was the recently announced Ayaneo Pocket Micro, and this has definitely taken a lot of cues from the Game Boy Micro, which I'm kind of happy about. But with this, I mean, we're going to get a lot more than the Micro has. It's got dual analog sticks and a borderless 3.5-inch display, making it Ayaneo's smallest device to date. Now, this is definitely not going to be tailored towards PC gaming. This is more for retro gaming. And with this unit, they're offering 4 different color variants at the time of making this video. I think 2 of these may be special edition. And yeah, just taking a look at these devices, you can really kind of get a feel for a Game Boy Micro with this unit. The Pocket Micro is constructed of aluminum. It's got an active cooler, so we can see around back here. We've got an intake vent. All that air is going to be pushed up out of the top of the unit. And given this thing is so small, just taking a look at it beside the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it definitely looks like a very pocketable device. Now, when it comes to the CPU, this is actually going to be using the Helio G99. From their product announcement video, they did have a bunch of video of it kind of in hand. Nothing with it running just yet, but as you can see up front here, we've got dual analog sticks, really good looking D-pad. Up top, it does have shoulder buttons and trigger buttons, volume rocker, our exhaust vent there for that built-in cooling system, and they also kind of give us a look of it right next to an original GBA. So yeah, it's definitely a really small device, but it's packing some power for what we've got here. With the specs they've released so far, they left a couple things out like the RAM amount and storage amount, but you know, we can kind of get a feel for what we're going to be working with in the end just looking at this here. It's got a 3.5-inch display with a resolution of 960 by 640, totally bezel-less, and they state that this will play GBA games at 4x resolution. I have no doubt that it will, because this is actually powered by the Helio G99 CPU. Not the highest end SoC on the market, but this will definitely handle up to PSP. You could probably play some GameCube games here. Of course, Dreamcast and anything under there is going to work great with this chipset. Another thing they didn't touch on that much was the operating system. But since it's using that ARM CPU, we're going to be working with a new Android handheld here. It's got that high-end CNC aluminum alloy frame and 4 different color variants. All of them I think look really good. That black kind of stands out to me, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a real fingerprint magnet or not. So we'll definitely have to wait and see once these are released. In my opinion, Ayaneo has always done a really good job designing their handhelds, and this is no different. Really like the look of it. But the next one that we're going to be talking about here is the one that I'm most interested in, and they're calling it the Ayaneo Pocket DMG. I'm a huge fan of vertical handhelds, and I think they've done a really good job designing this one. As you can see, we do get an analog stick, and it also has a touch sensor built in. So right beside that analog stick is a spot that we can actually navigate with or play games with. And I'm sure we'll be able to set this up as some type of analog stick. That way we can work with dual analogs when we're playing different emulators on this device. It is using conductive pads under all of the face buttons and the D-pad. D-pad does look a lot larger than we've seen on most of these vertical handhelds in the past. Over on the left-hand side, there is a control wheel, and it's actually a 3-way control wheel. So, you know, we've got the up and down movement, plus we can press right in on the center of it. And one thing that really stood out to me were the rear shoulder buttons on this unit. They're calling this a coastline shoulder button design, and I think it looks really good, something we haven't seen before. But we really don't know how it's going to function or feel until we really get our hands on one. And with this, at least at the time of making this video, they're offering 2 different color variants. We've got that white and black. Both of them do look really good. And in my opinion, this is one of the best looking vertical handhelds that we've seen so far. Once these are released, it's really going to be hard for me to choose which color I want to pick up. I do like the white, but that black also looks super nice. It's also utilizing an OLED display, and the size on this is actually coming in at 3.92 inches with a resolution of 1240 by 1080 and 419 pixels per inch. So this is going to be a really crisp display. Taking a look at the top of the unit, we do have some ventilation here because it is an actively cooled unit, and one of the reasons they needed to add a fan cooling system to this thing is because it's using the Snapdragon G3X Gen 2. So it's definitely packing some power, and with that Snapdragon, obviously we're going to be running Android on this thing. We've seen this chip in the Ayaneo Pocket S. It definitely puts down some really good performance. Think Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 performance with a better GPU. So we're looking at a 3.92-inch OLED display. We've got that Snapdragon G3X Gen 2, coastline shoulder buttons around back, analog stick and touchpad up front. I think this would definitely make for a really great handheld as long as we can get good software support from Ayaneo. In the coming weeks, they're going to be announcing more about these handhelds, and hopefully we can get some pricing going on for these. They'll probably launch an Indiegogo or something like that. But I'd love to know from you in the comments below. Are you interested in any of these handhelds for retro gaming, or are you going to stick with what you have? Personally, I'm loving the look of the Pocket DMG. That's one that I'm kind of rooting for. Definitely want to get my hands on one for testing, but I know there are people out there that just don't like these vertical handhelds. So let me know your thoughts down below. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. And like always, thanks for watching.